Last weekend was supposed to be the Vermont 100.
Yeah.
And so I ran 100 miles from our house. Yeah, I thought it would be a really great idea to run 100 miles, which is something I don't get the opportunity to do when I'm RDing, is participating in these races. So it was a lot of some big loops and then some little loops, and we just kind of made it up. I thought I'd be choosing routes based on if I was feeling trails or hilly or flat or that sort of thing. And the day heated up, it ultimately devolved into, I'm going to pick a route based on where I know the most shade is, so I can just run in the shade and try and stay cool and beat the heat. With 100 milers, a lot of times my strategy is just hike the uphills, run the downhills. And so I'm so grateful for uphills because it's an opportunity to hike. And really you only have to think about running maybe 50 miles, maybe 60 miles, not 100, because you're hiking that other portion. Ultra logic, I know.
I think the most memorable was probably UTMB. When I did it in 2014.
Yeah,
That
that's
was-
Ultra Trail de Mont Blanc.
Yeah.
And it's 100 miles through Europe, and it's around Mont Blanc. So you start and end in France, but you run through Italy and Switzerland along the way.
The race itself is unbelievable. I mean, you run through 3 countries and you start and there's like, I don't know, it starts like a 5K road race and there's, I don't know, a couple
There's
thousand
like-
people.
There's like helicopters overhead, like it's Boston.
Yeah.
It's as close as you can get to running Boston and being like, but I'm running an ultra.
Epic views of, you know, everything in, around the mountain, the glacier, the views of the glacier. You know, you start at 6 p.m. It's just, ugh.
Well, and it
You
was
run-
downpour raining.
Yeah, I was start and it was just pouring and just running through the night. And I was like, oh man,
He saw me at mile like 20. I was out
I
there
wanted to
crewing
stop. I was
at
like,
mile 20, and he was just like, Amy, this sucks. I don't want to run anymore. It's like we're in Europe. Whatever.
yeah,
you know?
like 20 in, and then I don't know. Then the rain stopped. I think after 20, and it just got better. And yeah, I just kind of picked my way through.
He ended up finishing in the top 20, and he was the second American, and having this amazing race. I think he was the last sub 24-hour finisher,
yeah,
the last person to sneak in.
So yeah, but finishing down there, it's like that's when the streets are lined, and you know, there's tons of people. So
It's like the last kilometer or so is you're going through, like snaking into the center of Chamonix, France, and they've got barricades up, and it's just lined with people. Like he came into the finish line high-fiving the people on the
Yeah,
side of the crowd.
that's
Like,
awesome. Yeah, no, it's just quite the experience. You know, no one really speaks. I mean, you sort of speak English, but you kind of ish.
you learn how to say water and please and
Yeah,
thank you in all the
yes.
foreign languages.
Then we went back to do it again, and then
A
I
couple
had a
years
horrible
later.
race. It
Yeah.
took me like twice as long, so I thought I'm like, I'm gonna kill this. Now I'm top 10, man. And it was like, yeah, it took me twice as long.
I mean, I ran it a couple years later too, so I wasn't crewing for him that time. And yeah, it took me 40 hours to finish. I love working with athletes in general. It's what draws me to RDing and coaching and everything. Yeah, this year's been kind of tough. Like, I feel like it's my role as an RD to put on these events and create this environment for people to thrive and to reach their goals. And so I get that it's COVID and it's outside of my hands, but there's part of me that really struggled with canceling it because you just feel like your job is to overcome whatever and make this event happen. I love being an RD. I love, I'm you know, organizing and Excel spreadsheets and stuff like that just make my heart sing. I'm that kind of dork. And so there's something about organizing stuff that suits my nature. So that's part of it. But I'll tell you, no matter how much you go through and how frustrating it is at times, because it is, you know, there are parts of it that aren't glamorous. At Vermont 100 especially, I sit up at the finish line and I greet every single finisher across the line. Last year, Vermont 100 was notoriously hot, as you can recall. And so this guy, one step over the finish line, second foot over the finish line, and a second later, eyes rolled back, and he was just seizing on the ground. And he was like one of our last finishers. So he'd been out there the full 30 hours. But it just goes to show, like, he held it together the entire time. And the minute he got over the finish line, his body was like, yep, nope, we're done. That's all I had to do. And that's when he gave in to, you know, what he'd probably been holding back for miles. Those 15 hours greeting people across the finish line, it makes everything else worth it. And I guess it's just like the same question when people ask, like, why do you run 26.2? It's hard to quantify, or it's hard to put into words, but if you sit there for 15 hours and you greet people across the finish line, first place, last place, people who have PR'd, people who never thought they could accomplish what they just accomplished, people who beat their body down and are disappointed, like, it's so raw and emotional and amazing, and it makes everything worth it.